Hey everyone, my name is Rooster, and welcome back to Mechabellum. Void Eyes are out of control. I don't know what else to tell you. This is a game that was played during the semifinals of Mag 1 on Saturday, yesterday, between two of the strongest players that we've had for a very long time. We have Fung Fung on the blue side, we have Fairy on the red side, and both of them have been atop of the ladder for basically the past 2 years or so. And what that means is that they've got a pretty decent understanding of the meta, and this game is crazy. I don't know what to say about this. This is happening between two players that are 2400 MMR rated, if not higher. And I don't think I've ever seen a meta this degenerate, I want to say. It is just something else. So obviously it's going to be all about Void Eyes, and you can already see this as Fairy decides to play aggro on the right side with a Mustang pack, but the Mustang pack has some Void Eyes in the mix as well. He decides to buy a fourth Void Eye with a singular crawler right behind, and Fung Fung, who is defending here, is a quick supply specialist, starting with fangs and sledgehammers, and you can probably tell what he's about to do with that money. Yeah, when I say that Void Eyes are out of control, they are out of control. I don't know where this build originated from, but it has been taking over the ladder, and I'm honestly maybe sorry for making this video, because I imagine some of you will be trying this out once you've seen it, because it is pretty straightforward. You just build Void Eyes, and that's exactly what Fung Fung is going to be doing here as well. Now, what text do they have on the bar? Fung Fung is running range, aerial, suppression shot, and then charge shot, which is kind of the variable slot. Fairy, though, same slot, but instead of charge shot, running energy shield. And he was running this because he was expecting to play this mirror matchup against Fung Fung. And we'll have to see if it makes a difference or not. So here we go, and both players fighting each other with those Void Eyes. Fung Fung, of course, slightly favored here because he did use 150 extra credits on round 1, and he has those sledgehammers in the mix, which are simply more useful against the Mustangs than the other way around. So round 1 goes the way of Fung Fung. And then we enter round number 2. And what you will see here is that they honestly play pretty quickly. Now, this is a unit reinforcement round, so they do have to think a little bit. But aside from that, they will be playing pretty quickly. Only picking the, best, the most necessary cards, skipping everything else to get the build going. Phantom Ray here gets picked up for both players. You can use that aggressively on the left side to go for a tower take, which is what Fung Fung does, whereas Fairy is happy to just pick up the Phantom Ray on the right side. And yeah, there we go. So first tech here, suppression shot for Fairy. Extremely cheap still, 100 resources only. And while it did get a bit of a nerf, it still gives 10 bonus range, and that suppression effect is very, very powerful if you manage to hit an enemy. And just more Void Eyes here being purchased. So a fifth one on the board for Fairy, as he also decides to pick up some fangs to defend the left side tower, which will be somewhat successful, at least in terms of stalling. And one fang here on the left to, well, just try and make sure the Void Eyes don't get immediately locked on. Fung Fung not going for immediate suppression here as well, by the way. Opting to invest the money elsewhere, and I believe he bought some more chaff. And that's looking pretty good overall for Fairy. But there comes the debuff. The Phantom Rays were able to get rid of that Fang pack without going down. And there are still some Fangs here and there for Fung Fung. It is the benefit that he had, right? Of, well, having some early tempo, starting with the Fangs already. And with the defensive setup he has, they arrive late and they're able to contribute. So 2 rounds in a row for Fung Fung, and he's managed to use his specialist well. Quick Supply kind of needs to build an early lead because, that plus 200 credits starts to become kind of insignificant in the later stages of the mid-game, and especially once you enter the late game. EMP, quick pickup here for both. We can have a rapid look at the cards, but there wasn't really anything that impressive in there. Portable shield is something you can consider, but again, all of the money is going to be spent to fuel this strat. And you can see already it is round number 3, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Void Eyes on the board with double tech for Fairy as he decides to click aerial mode second. So the whole build is basically hinging upon these Void Eyes with aerial specialization. That way they can shoot both ground and air. And the bonus of this unit is that it's a really annoying unit to kill. It's only 100 cost, so it's very spammable. And 3 units in a pack means that it kind of doubles down as a tank of sorts as well. And the stats on it aren't that bad. I mean, 1600 hit points per Void Eye here at level 1. You can get some pretty quick levels considering it's a 100 cost unit, so its leveling threshold isn't that high. And again, you can build a lot of them and the upgrades are cheap. So it's a real menace. And because you build so many, they kind of start to help out with chaff clear as well, which is the crazy bit. So it's almost a do-it-all unit, and it doesn't need that much support, at least in the early game here. And I mean, you can just see how this is going, right? Feng Feng, a turn behind, goes for a suppression shot, does not go aerial, and that costs him. Now Feng Feng is back in the driver's seat. And this is kind of a very classic thing in mirrors. I personally absolutely loathe playing them because I feel like it's hard to judge how things are going, or it's very clear how things are going, and if you're behind, you often don't have a way out aside from no longer playing the mirror, which will often, cost you a few rounds because you need to transition. So what matters is amount of deployments within the mirror, so amount of Void Eyes in this case, the amount of techs you have, so do you have a tech more or less than your opponent, and the level advantages that you have. So on all 3 fronts, Fairy was ahead up to this point. He still has more Void Eyes. The techs have now been evened out, and level-wise, it is somewhat even, but Fairy does have 3 level 2s instead of the 2 level 2s that Feng Feng has. And he decides to buy more. Again, tries to get back into this mirror, but Fairy is happy to give him that round to get back into things. An alternative would have been to maybe try and even get the range enhancement here and just buy even more Void Eyes. But Fairy says, you know what? I'm going to invest a little bit into my Mustangs, which I started with. I'm going to give them range. I add another one over here. And Mustang, I would say, is one of the other best counters to this strat. Especially range and AA is powerful. And typically when people go for this strategy, they're not going to have EMP armor. If they do, it can become a massive issue down the line, because the Mustangs will just immediately get EMP'd when they shoot at them. And yeah, you would need to photon, I guess, your Mustangs, but that doesn't last forever. So because of this kind of respite that was given to Feng Feng, he's doing a lot better. He managed to grab some more Void Eyes. The Mustangs are doing okay, but they haven't really scaled that well yet. And so things are close to being even on round 4. Perhaps Feng Feng even going to be able here to grab a win. Looks like he will be able to do so. Amazing debuff there. Will help him out tremendously. And he does manage to pick up a win. Both of them playing very small unit compositions, so this is not going to deal a ton of damage. And it's also why both players are still relatively healthy heading into the mid-game. Round number 5, Advanced Targeting System. Picked up for Fairy. Extremely greedy card picked there. And Feng Feng not going for it. He might regret that, but still, it's a big investment, right? And it kind of means that Fairy is going to be behind for yet another round here. I mean, yet another round. He's actually just allowed Feng Feng to get back into the game because, again, the techs, right? No money there. That card is exceptionally expensive. The Advanced Targeting System costs 450. I think it's the most expensive card in the game. And yeah, it doesn't allow him to do much else. So he picks up some Void Eye levels and grabs a couple Fangs, but that's all she wrote. And in the meantime, Feng Feng grabs the third tech on these Void Eyes with range. But when I say that this is a really degenerate meta, it truly is. Like, this is just unhinged. Both boards are largely ignoring the fundamentals of the game that you would normally expect, where you kind of balance between buying some chaff clear, and buying some DPS. Here it's, for the most part, building a DPS unit. Because you have so many, they also double down as a form of chaff, and they don't do a terrible job at chaff clearing. Of course, Fairy in this scenario does have a couple Mustangs, so his board is a bit more balanced out than Fung Fung, but I have seen them play mirrors of this where it looks insane. But it works. It really is a tough thing to beat. And you might wonder, why don't you go Raiden? Raiden does work, but you have to get past a certain threshold, which is often the tricky bit. Keep in mind, Void Eye is, 4 times cheaper than Raiden, so it's a lot easier to get into and to scale. And it's not like Void Eye cannot take down a Raiden at all. If it locks on, especially with that suppression shot, and specifically when you're in close quarters combat, it can really fight back. And, you just need one of the Void Eyes to hit it, or some other units to get in the way, and the Raiden won't do its job. So for, unit specialists that aren't aerial or giant, getting into a Raiden might just cost you too many hit points and too much tempo before you can really stabilize. Round number 6, we get the Sandworms here from Fung Fung. Opts to pick up the Nano Repair Kit, Missile Strike, the pickup for Fairy. Both of them have the Electromagnetic Impact back off cooldown, which will put all of these Void Eyes back on the ground. And right now, Fairy definitely hitting more. Although these Mustangs might get caught in the impact as well, which would factor into the equation. And Nano Worm, kind of a good option here, right? But as I said, there is not a singular chaff clear unit for Fung Fung. It is just a little bit of chaff, mostly Void Eyes, and then 2 tanks in the front. Now, there's no charge shot on the bar, as I said, for Fairy. So this Nano Worm could be a massive problem. Void Eye DPS is good, but can struggle if the Void Eyes are low level and you're dealing with something as tanky as a Nano Sandworm. So how is this going to be playing out? I haven't even made the tally of how many Void Eyes there are on the board, but I'm sure it's, a lot. Just an incredible amount. Right now, things are looking pretty even, but that worm is creating a ton of problems for Fairy. It keeps burrowing. When it's burrowing, it keeps healing, and as you can see, it hasn't really taken that much damage. The debuff, though, very timely, and that should allow Fairy to take out the Sandworm. We get the debuff here as well. There goes the Sandworm. For the first time in this game, significant amount of damage, about 1,000, going the way of Fung Fung. Round number 7, unit reinforcements. We were due. And it's an immediate Scorpion pickup here for Fung Fung, likely into a cell. Yes, it was. The Wraith instead going to be the pickup for Fairy. Opting to skip it from the looks of things and goes triple Sabertooth with double shot at level 2 to be able to fight the Sandworm. So he realizes that this unit is a problem, and the Void Eyes can't really deal with it right now, because if all of them were level 3, he might have been fine, but they're not, and this Sandworm does have Nano Repair Kits, which makes it a lot tankier than it would be without. Look at this. Scorpion Sold and quadruple Fire Badger with Scorching Charge. And I think Fire Badger is one of the big reasons why this comp is suddenly making such a surge in popularity. The amount of fire techs that are available between Scorching Charge or even Napalm make it really difficult to, 1, sometimes invest in a lot of chaff, and 2, make useful use of something like Mustang, which obviously is one of the units that struggles a lot with fire. So the Badgers kind of enable this type of gameplay, and you can get into them even a little bit later, as you see now. Doesn't seem to work that well, though, and Fung Fung really does have chaff clear problems now. The chaff clear from Fairy isn't the best, but it's slightly better, and because they're playing a mirror, that makes all the difference. Mustangs finally starting to become useful as well, as the Void Eyes are unable to get through all of them. Now the flank collapses, and Fairy extends their lead. Lone here, by the way, for Fairy. I think Fung Fung probably loaned as well. Double attack and defense enhancements are picked up. Round number 8, we get Orbital Bombardment. I mean, you know, pick your poison here between the spells. You have Incendiary Bomb to help with Shaft Clear, Orbital Bombardment to help with Shaft Clear, or even the Nuke if you want to. And this is where Fairy decides to pick the tech that they specifically put on the bar for this matchup, which is going to be that Portable Shield, which is exceptionally good, right, against Orbital and against Nuke as well. It just means that it's going to be that much harder for Feng Feng to kill the enemy Void Eyes. He's going to need twice the amount of shots to get through all of it. More Void Eyes now being picked up. I mean, there is just an insane amount of them on the field. I'm going to try and count them. We have what? We have 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 Void Eyes at the moment here for Fairy, and about an equal amount, maybe a little bit less on the board for Feng Feng. Really, really insane. More Void Eyes being picked up, 4 of them, because of course they did grab an additional deployment slot earlier on in the game. Yeah, I mean, we're just starting to work on a second row of Void Eyes at this point. Why not? Oil used on that left side of the board. Feng Feng trying to do what he can in terms of using the chaff clear that is disposable or available to him. Let's see. The worms have been teched now with mechanical division. It should stall for a little bit longer. I think the Void Eyes are pretty decent at dealing with the larva, but still, anytime you can buy should be rather useful. Left side, that worm not doing well, but right side, the worm managing to survive. And as it burrows, doesn't quite go down, takes down a shield, and starts to heal back up as the Mustangs have nowhere near the DPS required to take it down. So, by the looks of things here, Feng Feng perhaps making a little bit of a comeback. If this Sandworm could level, that would be a big deal for him. But he would have to take out some other stuff. Right now, the experience, you know, kind of 300 experience short of being able to go to level 2. Void Eyes doing their very best, but a timely debuff is going to happen here as that Sandworm knows the mission, grabs the second tower, and it means that Feng Feng manages to win, finally. Been behind for a good portion of this game, but now manages to strike back with the help of that Sandworm, which does pick up a level. Another EMP shows up, so now we have double electromagnetic impact, which is going to do very well, considering all of these Void Eyes are hard to protect, and I don't think you really want to go for a photon bolt here. You could, but it's just a bit expensive, right? And the Overlord, without any other techs, is not going to be that useful into this armada of Void Eyes. So, Sandworm does grab a level. And not too sure here what Fairy wants to do with their deployments. Looks like it's just going to be more Fangs. I mean, Shielded Fang could definitely be an option. And they might get layered somewhere in the back. They are. So, you know, a second, a third, a fourth wave of Fangs is being set up now. And that's a useful chaff unit to use against these Badgers. Of course, the front ones will still burn. But that Scorching Charge fire disappears relatively quickly, and the Fangs are slow. So they will be able to arrive at a good timing when, you know, the whole field is not on fire. We get counterfire now on Feng Feng, which I felt like was a bit of a Hail Mary, trying to stack as many hit points as possible. There is a little bit of synergy between the two techs, but I don't think the actual active effect of it will do too much. These Badgers are going to get triggered nearly immediately. And yeah, there we go. Only the left side getting a tiny bit of value, but the explosion already triples the amount of kills of what those Badgers were able to do beforehand. The DPS, though, for Fairy, still an issue. There are those Shielded Fangs, of course, but this level 2 Sandworm just not going anywhere. The double shot Saber unable to do anything. And now all of the Void Eyes become airborne again as the EMP wears off. And it looks like Feng Feng will be able to at least survive another round if he's somehow going to lose this. I'd be very surprised, though, as we may speed things up here. It just takes an awful long time to get through all of the Fangs. But at the same time, look at how slowly Fairy is getting through this army of Void Eyes. And it's not just because he's using Void Eyes, it's just one of the traits, I guess, of the Void Eyes themselves. And so, on round 9, again, the Sandworm causing too many problems, buying too much time for Fung Fung, and it will result in him winning. Although I say that, there's only a couple Void Eyes left, so I guess we'll just end up with a tie, as that Void Eye does fall. But yeah, just absolutely crazy scenes. And this is not just a cherry-picked game necessarily either. These two players played a best of 3, and both of their games were like this. Just Void Eye spam from start to finish in the mirror. Steel Balls there show up in the unit drop, very useful for Fairy, and it's going to be the Vulcan pickup for Fung Fung as he tries to get more chaff clear, realizing that those Scorching Charge Badgers are just not cutting it against the extremely late Fangs from Fairy. And honestly, I was expecting Fairy to go for range on the Steel Balls here, but he's going to be doing something a little bit different. And we're going to see another unit that I think is very meta currently when it's not this type of Void Eye spam. Napalm Badger is very popular, and Hacker as well is extremely popular. And so there we have it. Now, Fairy tries to buy them at level 2 first, then realizes that they don't have enough money, and, well, they go for level 1 Hackers with range. What is the use case of this, you might ask? I'm not exactly sure. I don't think the value is that amazing. There is always the option of hacking the Sandworms, which is quite useful, considering you would take over the mechanical division effect. But aside from that, you know, almost the entire army is airborne now. There is the Vulcan Edition, which maybe Fairy predicted. But level 1 Hacker, I'm not sure is going to do too much. The one problem with this Hacker play is it doesn't leave enough money to go for range enhancement, so Fairy opts to go for the energy absorption. Now, lucky for Fairy, the worm is gone. Fung Fung was too afraid of that Steel Ball drop, and I guess he thought Fairy would go for ranged Steel Balls, that he just transitioned the item onto one of the level 2 Vulcans. And right side, we do have one of the worms getting taken over. Same thing, actually, on that left side. And even worse than that, that level 2 Vulcan gets picked off. And because it gets taken over, it starts healing, as there is no charged shot right now clicked for Fung Fung. He wished he would have had it now, but that will result in a tower debuff going the way of Fairy. And, well, this round, it's a little more convincing, and Fairy will be able to turn things around. So there we go. Yeah, the Void Apocalypse, in a way. I don't know what to think of this. It's really quite crazy that this is what, you know, the highest level of gameplay looks like, because it's a bit brutish, right, of a comp. It's just trying to spam a unit that has a lot of good stats going for it, few counters, and that gels well with, you know, the fire techs that are readily available on Fire Badger to, you know, overwhelm your opponent. And I played against this myself once. Now, my opponent was a little bit weaker than these guys, and I had some success playing Mustangs, but I played them all the way in the back to try and avoid fire, and then I had to get into Hacker at some point. I imagine these type of Worms additions, though, could be a big issue, because Mustang does not like dealing with them, and Hacker can sometimes get rid of them, but it's a very tricky matchup, can go either way. I could try and take over here. I think that maybe Fung Fung should have tried to keep the Sandworm that he had, but I think it's looking a little bit dire on this specific round. So let's go for the Vulcan play. I think that does make some sense. And maybe go for range. And then I think I want to put that high-level Vulcan on this side of the board rather than the left side. I'll just add a normal Vulcan over here instead. And what else do we want to do? I could sell one of these. We definitely need the temp range. And I wonder if I want to beacon backwards this worm a little bit. I don't think that would be that bad of an idea. Try and beacon it backwards ever so slightly to create a little bit of distance between the worm and the balls. Maybe we take a level here. I really don't know if you want to keep this worm. I'm not convinced it's the most useful thing that we have. Perhaps just another Vulcan could be a good addition. And aside from that, what else do we need? Maybe just another Void Eye at this point. I mean, they are triple teched, so why not just chuck it anywhere? let's see. I want to see what happens if you do decide to keep the Sandworm, because it was doing an amazing job for quite a while, and these steel balls ended up dying pretty quick. Of course, it's a big gamble to make, and you kind of need to know that the opponent doesn't go for ranged steel balls, which I think would be a lot scarier. Now, sadly, the Vulcan does get taken over, but here comes that Sandworm. How much can it really do? Doesn't look like a lot. Okay, it just gets taken over and then starts healing. An absolute disaster. I don't have a lot of ideas as to how to fix any of this. Maybe if you beacon it further even more. But yeah, it's just not a good place to be in. And as soon as those Mustangs were purchased and all of the fangs were shielded for Ferry, I think the game was over. It was lost a while ago. It just took some rounds for Ferry to figure out what they wanted to do about the Sandworm threat, but yeah, just really heavily outscaled board at this stage. Anyway, if you liked this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought about this. Have you faced this? Have you played it? Are you going to be trying it? Let me know. If you want to stay up to date with my latest content, please consider subscribing. If you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.